Hello everybody, you're watching After Effects A to Z Effects series on MotionWorks. My name is Multanen, and in this episode I'm going to show you a very mysterious effect called 4-color gradient. So let's start off by creating a new solid and applying maybe the fractal noise as the first effect, because obviously there's really not much to it, to the 4-color gradient, that is. If I just apply it, you can see that I have 4 points. Each point represents a color, and the colors blend smoothly. So that's pretty much it. We can set the colors, we can set the position of each point, which is the source of the color. We can set the blend parameter. Usually I leave it at 100. We can set the jitter, which can help sometimes when you're working in 8 bits, for example, which, creates this little bit of noise. I hope you can see it. If we zoom in, you can probably see it a little bit better. So that helps sometimes, but I don't think we need it for the purposes of this tutorial. Of course, we've got the opacity and we've got the blending mode. And the blending mode is what really makes this little tiny plugin quite useful. Let me show you. I'm just going to reset the settings for the plugin, set the zoom back to 100 and turn the effect off for now. So the first obvious usage of this plugin may be background creation. So we're just going to use fractal noise as a source of our layer. We're going to turn the uniform scaling off and maybe increase the height and decrease the width, just like that. We can play with the evolution, so we're just gonna, instead of creating keyframes, we're going to write a simple expression, time multiplied by a number, and that will be 200 in this case, and this creates animation that you see right now. Nothing too fancy, but still, if we've got that going, we can now apply 4-color gradient and use one of the blending modes, and in this case we can use overlay, for example. So what now? Obviously, we can set the colors to match whatever color palette we like. But in this case, since we're creating an abstract background, I think we can play a little bit more with expressions. As you know me, I'm an expression junkie, so I need to have an expression in every single parameter that I'm working with, because otherwise I'm just sick. So let's just do that. Wiggle 1 time per second in the radius of 200, and this will ensure that this point will change its position every other second in the radius of 200. As you can see, we can kind of simulate changing of the lighting of the background, of the lights that are shining at our layer. So we're going to do the same thing with the rest of the parameters. So let's just put the same exact expression to all of those, like so. Now the points are wiggling and it looks a little bit more interesting. And what we can do, something that is not as obvious as wiggling the point, we can also wiggle the color. So let's do that. Wiggle 1 time per second, maybe 2 times per second in the radius of 2. What we have to remember is that the colors are not really represented in the 0 to 250 and 55 as we might guess. It's actually from 0 to 1, and this ensures that whatever the color, the bit depth of the comp that we're working in, it is going to work. So having that done, we're going to put this expression to other color parameters like that. Alt-clicking on the color and just pasting the expression in, and let's see how it looks right now. Well, this is one wild background. So there we go, but that's not all. Here's a small tip for you. This is a technique that I use from time to time when I'm working with not really interesting footage, not very interesting visually, like this one. You know this guy? I have no clue who he is. He's very shy of the camera. However, still, you can see that this is pretty much monochromatic shot, even though it is shot on color and everything. However, Now we can make it look a little bit better with applying for color gradient, that is. And in this case, I usually leave all the colors at their default, maybe changing the blending mode a little bit so we don't have, you know, as harsh edges as you can see right here. I'm just gonna blend them a little bit more and set the blending mode to soft light. This is what makes it work, and decreasing the opacity maybe to 50% or whatever suits you. So, you know, in this case, we can see the huge difference. However, it doesn't really make the footage look way better. However, I assure you that this trick really helps sometimes. So remember that. And I guess that's it for this episode of A to Z FX series. Thanks for watching. See you next time.